I have a question here that I want to respond to from a commenter who's asking me about, family members who sweep things under the rug, and she's asking, hey, is it worth addressing a family member of this nature verbally, written, or is it just better to remove oneself and move on? Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist, and I did a post when I talked about, when you're in relationships with people who want to, sweep things under the rug, they don't want to address problems or concerns that you have. They want to, pretend like nothing is happening. And one of the things that I will say is that, I'm 46 years old. When I, for me, I have a one-time rule, and everybody's different. I'm not saying you got to follow Dr. Jones's rule, but this is what I have found in my 46 years of life. With across everybody, right? Family, work, whatever the case may be. For me, I address things one time, or I attempt to address things with a person one time, and I just, I send it on and let it fly and then see what happens. Now, what they do after that is going to tell me, how they're going to proceed, and which in turn tells me how I'm going to proceed. So if you try to address something with somebody and they're just like, whatever, I don't want to talk about that. They're dismissive. They're shutting you down. They don't want to hear it. They walk out. To me, you've let that person has kind of told you what they are. And you could even say, hey, you know what? Why don't we can even table this for now? We can come back. We can regroup, take a little break, let the emotions die down, that kind of stuff. Maybe two, maybe three times maximum is the most I'm willing to do that. But usually, by that second and third time, there's a pattern that's clearly established. And in my experience, when you do this with people, and they have a clear pattern of shutting it down with you, and maybe most of the time it's not even just you, it's with everybody. They're good at keeping things superficial with everybody, but the minute a problem arises with anybody, they kind of avoid it. Or some people may be good about problem solving at work, but they just don't do people, so they don't like solving problems with people, that kind of stuff. But usually people tell you who they are, and in my experience, it's good to just remove yourself and move on. If you don't do relationships like that, they're talking, in another language, which means I don't do relationships and you do relationships. It's good to just move on and leave that person where they're at, because otherwise you're fighting an uphill battle. And this is just what I have found to be true. You are going to be clamoring and struggling to survive in that relationship, and you're going to be performing, you're going to be walking on eggshells, and at the end of the day, you're going to be pissed off, resentful, and unhappy because nothing's changing. They don't ever want to talk about anything. There's not you're not even going to really be able to fully show up and be present in the relationship. Neither one of you are really. And so in my experience, it's better to just kind of remove yourself and move on. What I've done too is when I've done that, I've left people with feedback. I've left them voicemails or things like that. Hey, I did the X, Y, and Z. This is what I got. This is what I learned about myself in this experience. Boom, and move on. And I think that is the way to do it. When people are used to kind of, doing it all or nothing, my way or the highway, they're kind of thinking that you're not going to do anything. This is just what it is. And, a lot of people are surprised when you say, you know what? I don't put up with it. A relationship is a two-way street, and I'm not asking for too much to talk about a problem or to work things out or to have a feeling about something. And no, I'm not too goddamn sensitive. I have expectations. I want reciprocity in my relationship. I value respect in my relationships. If you don't value that, we're not aligned, and I'm not going to take it personal. You only take it personal when you stay in a relationship way past the expiration date, and you end up doing way more work than that other person is ever thought about doing. And now you're mad because you spent years with somebody who could care less. So, in my advice, stick to doing what's good for you and move on when you see that it's not working out. And you don't have to be nasty. You don't have to, you don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. You can detach with love. I did a separate post on that, and so, but the sooner you find out, you screen people in and out, and that you should be doing a regular relationship audit. And that's how I look at it in my life. And that's why I tell all my clients, always be doing a relationship audit. I don't care who it is. Love is conditional. I know people think love's unconditional, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. Love's conditional. Do a relationship audit on everybody every 3 to 6 months. Your dog, your cat, your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your work colleagues, and then, you need to be looking at whether or not this relationship aligns with you. And if it doesn't, you already got your answer. Hope that helps.